Scott, thanks for joining us. We're back on the road this weekend as we travel to Cambridge. What are your thoughts heading into that game?
It's another opportunity for us to win, to put the last two results behind us, and we're on the road, so that's good. That we're going to a ground that it's a really good pitch, and it'll be a tough game. They're doing really well this season. They're a good football club. You've got good people there. Neil Harris has done a really good job there. Mark Bonner in the background as well, kind of helping out. So a really good football club and a tough challenge. They're probably doing better than maybe most people would suggest at the start of the season. So fair play to them. But yeah, looking at them in terms of how they play, they're actually quite good with the ball. Possession wise, they're probably in the top 10 for possession and possession stats and passing stats and pass completion. They're actually quite high for that. Very stingy at the back, very defensively strong, and they don't offer much up in terms of opportunities for us to score. So that's going to be tough for us to try and break down. And of course, they've got some real attacking threats as well. So we know it's going to be a tough game, but like I say, it's another opportunity for us to put right where we've been going wrong.
Yeah, how's the week in training been? Because after we spoke to yourself and Charlie after the game, it was obvious that everybody was very down after the game on the basis of how many chances we created. We felt like we deserved more from the games. What was it like, sort of watching the game back, and how have the players reacted?
Yeah, good in a way, because it's another opportunity for us to learn about each other, the group, and everything. Listen, we've got to make sure that we're mindful of important factors are that we are a new group, and whilst we all want to win every game that we play in, we also have to be kind of sensible that it's a process that we're trying to build here, and sometimes that process can take longer than you want it to. But we can't afford to get frustrated by that, and we've got to try and stick together. And I think it's good because we're learning. We're learning all the time. I'm learning about the players. I'm learning about it's all right as all being present when we're doing well at the top of the league and we're at Wembley and we're all kind of jumping on each other's backs and that and enjoying that moment. But we've got to stick together when it's not going as well, and we are in the trenches a little bit. And I've found out about people, certainly while we've been down the bottom end. So that's interesting. But I think it's important that we do stick together, and I think that it's interesting. I think that it's important that we understand where we're at. And at the moment, we're probably not where we want to be, but we've just got to stick together and keep working hard.
Yeah, and we've spoke a lot about in recent times about consistency and about how if players, are going to gel together, they got to play with each other for, a large amount of games. And, we don't have a lot of luck with injuries and, and everything like that as well. So it all plays a big factor. And, you see some of the bigger teams like Bradford, you've, been consistent over the last few years now, sort of seeing the fruits of that.
Definitely, I think so, yeah. And I think consistency and continuity, they're words that I would use that are important in football. I'm not sure. You maybe be able to tell me better than I can, but I don't think we've picked the same team twice, really. It's always been something, whether it's an international call-up or an injury or a suspension or whatever it may be, or a player that can't play because he's on loan and we're playing the parent club, like this Saturday for argument's sake. So, yeah, it's difficult to try and get that continuity and that continuation of a settled team in a way. And I think that goes not just from Saturday to Saturday, but obviously for a season as well. Like you say, like the Bradfords and that the continuity of Graham Alexander being in his job for the amount of years he's been in his job now has got a way of playing, and they're just winning and scoring and doing so well. And it takes time to get to that stage. I'm sure that he'd be probably like I was in the first 6 or 7 months of the job at Bradford, like I feel like I am now. Almost feel that 1 minute it feels like it's off and running and you're getting it going, and the next minute you have a setback, and it's just the way it is. And we've just got to try and stick together, like I say. And it's important that we do that, and it's important that whilst I want people to enjoy the moments when we're good, I want us to be really present when we're not doing so well.
Yeah, it must make your life hard as well, because you spoke after the Notts County game about how after that sort of performance you feel like you have to make changes, but then in the back of your mind you also want to keep the same team to have some consistency and getting used to playing to each other. So it must be pretty difficult.
Yeah, it is, and I think that I was probably accused of not making a sub on Saturday by many people, and I get that argument, but you know, when I've got good people next to me who are seeing it the same as me, and you know, we discussed this and felt that there was no need to make changes. We felt that we were playing really well at the, you know, in that second half, and we were creating. You know, had we have made a change, it might have kind of slowed us down more than anything. So listen, these are the decisions I'm paid for. Whether I get them right or wrong remains to be seen. You know, so I've got to make them, and that doesn't normally happen. You know, I normally do make changes, and I just felt that the way we were playing, I didn't think it warranted that. But yeah, I think that it's frustrating that we didn't start the game well. Really frustrating. And I think everybody's knowledge now and experience will tell you that by just watching the game. But then you look at the data as well. The data tells a story in itself. You know, the fact that we had so many chances in the second half, none in the first, sort of thing. You know, even the possession was higher and everything was higher in the second half, and not just the football data, the actual running data as well. You know, the players worked so much harder in that second half to try and win a game, which is why I was kind of miffed by it. You know, why we didn't turn up at 3:00 and we waited till 4:45 to turn up.
Yeah, you obviously were forced to make a change on Saturday with Addy coming off earlier on. Is there any update on him and the others that we're still missing out on?
Yeah, Addy's got a slight injury, which will probably keep him out for a week or two. Nothing major, but we're going to have to kind of wrap him up certainly this week in Cottonwell a little bit, and then hopefully we'll roll him out next week.
Perfect, Mark.
Brilliant. Is there any update on Harvey with his finger?
Yeah, so he's got some damage to the finger, so he's going to be a doubt for the weekend.
Okay, and with that, are you rethinking your goalkeeper strategy? I know we've talked about it a couple of times now. That you say it's a gamble with bringing someone else in. Will you think of having a sub-keeper just in case?
No.
In future? No. Fair enough. Excellent. I'm assuming Jojo will be the first choice coming in.
Yeah, Jojo will play Saturday.
Yeah, cool. And he won at Cambridge last year. I think it was a good goal by Addy, funnily enough.
That's right, it was, yeah.
Yeah, really good. How have Cambridge changed from last year to this year?
I think they're more settled with the way they play. They're actually, like I say, in terms of possession, they look really comfortable on the ball. You know, they've got a couple of midfield players who want to get on it and knit it together from the back and make more passes than you probably expect. And of course, they're quite an attacking threat as well. You know, so they've got the capability of going from back to front and aggressively, but they can play through the thirds as well. Of course, on top of that, they're really stingy at the back. You know, they don't give up many chances. They don't give up many goals. I think they've probably kept 3 or 4 clean sheets already this season. So they're, you know, defensively really strong, but capable football team, really capable football team. I think Neil Harris is a really good manager, experienced manager, worked in the Championship. You know, I've come across him and come against him a few times. It's always been a tough challenge, and you know, this will be no different.
Yeah. And how do you look at League Two this season compared to the previous 2 seasons in terms of the standard of play and the levels of teams?
Just madness. I just find it, anybody can beat anybody. You know, you look at some of the results, even at the weekend, some of the results were just, you know, bonkers. You know, you think that team's going to beat that team, and then you look at the results at the end of the game, and how did they beat them? And you know, you see it all the time. You know, MK Dons were back to be obviously the team that were just going to wipe the floor with everybody, and it's not the case because you know it's a really difficult league, and you know, and you're just seeing teams, you know, winning games that you don't expect to. So this is why we've got to stay in there and stick at it, because if it turns, it will turn, you know, and you know, we can really, you know, use the back end of the season to push as hard as we can, and we just got to stay amongst it now, you know, and that's the disappointing thing for me is we win three games on the trot, or 4 games, whatever it was, and then we've got to lose 2. You know, that's just the inconsistency of what we are at the moment. We've got to try and find that balance, and like I say, understand what we are. We're a new group, and we just need to. Everybody just needs to stick with it and stick together. You know, enjoy being in the trenches a little bit. I do. I find out about people. I find out about myself, about when you're up against it a little bit, about, you know, standing strong and come on. You know, I know where we are is not where we want to be, but let's stick together and stand really strong about it, and you know, and enjoy digging ourselves out of it. I love that. You know, I love the fact that. I don't love the fact that we are where we are, but I love the fact that we've got a challenge in front of us. I think that's great.
Yeah, and do you feel you learn more in this situation?
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course, you learn about everybody around you. You learn about the players. I think you learn more. I think you learn more actually when you're not doing so well as when you are doing so well. I think that really shows the true colours of everybody, and I think that we've got some really good people, and I'm pleased with that.
Yeah, and what's your message to the fans going into this weekend?
Just come and support and get behind the lads. The fans have been class. They really have. They've been brilliant. I know Saturday, there was some words between me and a number of fans said, listen, it's only because I'm passionate, they're passionate. They want to win, I want to win. And, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks, Scott.
Thank you.